Hello, this is part 2 of Class 1, Lesson 1 Foxtrot of the Clinical Operations Management Program. I'm Daniel Herman O'Moran.
So this is my plan for this video. I'm going to review part 1 of this lesson. Second, I'm going to remind you to look at GCP and my Dan's bio video. Then I'm going to talk briefly about a 5-step management process that I created, sort of extrapolated from the nursing process. Then I'm going to talk about applying that 5-step process to the tasks that are needed in the onboarding period. I'm going to talk briefly about the subjective goals of the onboarding period, that is to say, impression management. Next, I'm going to talk about using the Portal Keyboard Skills Workbook in the onboarding period. Next, I'm going to talk about sort of the humanitarian aspect of management, that is, beneficence, philanthropy, and altruism. I'm going to talk briefly about how the line managers, especially during the onboarding period, are an embodiment of the company itself. And then lastly, I'm going to briefly describe 5 negative experiences that I've had in my ClinOps career during the onboarding period.
So as a reminder, Class 1 of this program is Onboarding and SOP Training. Right now we are in Lesson 1 of this class, and Lesson 1 is Onboarding. So what I'm going to talk about in this video relates only to the onboarding period. Later on, when I start a series of videos on the study itself, I will revisit those 2 documents about how to learn keyboard portal skills for studies. But for right now, we're in onboarding and part 2 of 1 Foxtrot, which is the management of the portal keyboard skills. In part 1 of this lesson, I described the 2 documents that I use to capture the procedures for all of the laptop skills that we are responsible for. Those 2 documents are an Excel worksheet and second, a Word document. Part 2 of this lesson will discuss how to incorporate those 2 documents into a management plan. Before we get started, I just want to ask you to do a couple things. First of all, if you are working for either a sponsor or CRO, please review ICH Section 5.18.4, which deals with monitoring. If you are on the investigator staff, please read through ICH Section 4, which involves investigator responsibilities. And I recorded a separate video on my background. It's on YouTube. It's called Clinical Operations Management, Dan's Bio, 02 January 2025. I think it's about 15 minutes long. The short description of my background is about 10 years of management, followed by 20 years in clinical research, mostly as a CRA and lately as a lead CRA. So this is my 5-step management process. And to be honest with you, this is something that I borrowed from the nursing process. Decide on a goal. Create a plan to get to the goal. Create a feedback loop to see if you're on plan to reach the goal. Assess the feedback loop. And then finally, the 5th step is take action on any aberrations in step 4. So this is an example of using the 5-step management process for the goal of submitting a timesheet. The goal would be to submit a good timesheet by 1500 on Friday. The plan is to provide the new employee with the portal keyboard skills worksheet and or tell the new person where to find it, and also to provide one-on-one teaching of how to fill it out. That would be either with the line manager or with a new employee who has recently completed the onboarding. And that's something that I learned from my career in the Navy, as well as within the medical community. Navy, as soon as a new officer completes flight training, that person becomes an instructor. A similar thing happens in the medical community. Their mantra is watch one, do one, teach one. And I can tell you from experience, if you're not able to teach it, you actually don't know it. So step 3 is to run a report of all the timesheets. And this would be done by the line manager or the AD for that sponsor. The 4th step is to inspect the report to see if there are any late submissions and or approvals. And then step 5 is to take action. So I said step 2 is to create a plan to reach the goal. Regarding what we're talking about now, my thinking is this. An employer should have in their share drive, in their employee share drive, a folder for keyboard portal skills. So I've created a company called Ecchymosis Clinical Research. It's a CRO. And this is a model of what a share drive could look like. You've got one folder for all of their customers, and then you've got another folder for the employee's website. So I think that besides the very objective things that have to happen during the onboarding week, that is to say, submit a timesheet and complete SOP training, there are a couple informal things that are happening. One, the new employee is making a judgment on the quality of the new organization that the employee just joined. If the line manager is organized, if the company itself is organized, these tasks that the new person should complete should be very simple. There shouldn't be any obstacles or challenges or confusions or pain. And that's what you want. So make it easy for them. Have a folder in your share drive with how to get things done. And when the new person shows up, tell them where that worksheet is. Make sure that the worksheet is up to date, and so that way they can complete the tasks very effortlessly, and the new employee will think very favorably of the company. So this is how I see things working with saving these documents. Let's pretend that the employer is called Ecchymosis Clinical Research, and this is their share drive. And this is a very, very simple company, and it's very new, and it has only 2 folders in it. The first folder is all their customers, and we'll talk about that in a future recording. And the other folder is the employee's website. So within that website are these folders. And this is a typical website. You got the SOP portal and so on, but there's one portal called the portal keyboard skills. So this is what happens when you open the PKS workbook. Column 1 has to do with the scope. Column 2 is who this skill applies to. Column D is the category, and the categories I have put in are training, time, expense, HR, and pay. Vendor, sometimes we use an outside vendor, sometimes we don't. And the skill is in column F, and then the procedure would be written down in column G. So let's say it's your first week and you have to submit a time sheet. So you just go in here, you filter for time, and it tells you how to do it, how to submit, enter time for a day, how to submit a timesheet, and how to make corrections to reject a rejected timesheet. Pretty simple. How about for training? You're going to have to do training too, right? So you go into the vendor portal called Norall. To get a list of open training, you would come over here and the description would be right here. Then the next line is how to sign off on completed training, and the description of the procedure would be there. So my vision is that the line manager gives the new employee the link to the share drive and tells the new employee where to find the PKS worksheet, and that way it's really easy
to hear about people. There's another word, philanthropy. It has nothing to do with giving away wealth. To me, philanthropy means that you love people, that you care about them. And the third word is altruism. And again, it means that you care about people. I'm going to try to quantify a qualitative idea. Imagine a piece of graph paper, and on the x-axis over on the right is the lowest skill level of the people in your organization, and over on the right is the highest skill level of the person in your organization. I think that the farther along the x-axis that you go, from left to right, the more you have to care about people. If you're a manager of any kind, you have to care about people. You have to take an interest in their welfare, their competence, their morale. You have to care. Going back to my Navy career, we were told that when a new commanding officer arrives at a command, let's say a ship, that the person should not consider his or herself the commanding officer of that command, but should consider him or herself the command itself. Let's say it's a ship, that the person is not the commanding officer of the USS Pueblo or the USS Liberty or the USS Missouri, but the person is the command itself. And the person should embody everything that the person wants the command to be. The CO should look good if the command should look good. The CO should be competent in all of the commanding officer skills. The commanding officer should be courteous and respectful if that's what the commanding officer wants from the command. During the onboarding period, the new employee has contact with basically only the line manager. So my thinking is that the line manager should be considered for that week the embodiment of the organization that the new person is joining. And the line manager should be exactly the way that the line manager wants the new person to be, including checking into meetings on time, looking professional, acting professional and polite and courteously, and being very, very competent with all the skills that the line manager is responsible for. The new person is looking at the line manager to figure out what kind of organization is this that the new person just joined. And if the line manager looks sloppy, shows up for meetings late, and doesn't seem to be too good at the keyboard skills, that is the impression that the new employee is going to get for the whole company. Now I want to share with you a few negative experiences that I've had in my onboarding period to give you an idea about what things look like when they're not being attended to. So now I want to give you a few examples of bad onboarding experiences, and I'll give you 5 examples. The first, I received a laptop. None of the software worked because the person who downloaded the software included the apostrophe in my last name, and most of the software did not accommodate an apostrophe. So I had to send back the laptop on day 1. Second example, similar. The software that was downloaded on my computer had my last name misspelled. So again, most of the software didn't work. That was a waste of a day because the software had to be deleted and then reinstalled. The third one was actually 3 examples in one CRO. First example, it took me 2 hours to complete a 10-question quiz on an SOP because the answer key was wrong, and the only way I could pass the test was to answer 2 of the questions incorrectly. Second, some in-house staff sent me an email and addressed the email as, "Hey!" exclamation point. That to me is rude and unprofessional. The third thing that happened was, in my first meeting with my line manager told me about a bike rally that she went to, and she described one of the attendees who was topless as, quote, "her titties hung down to her waist," unquote. Well, that was pretty much the end of that relationship because I told my manager that because of that comment, I was not comfortable with her doing my observation visit. Apparently, she self-reported to HR, and things unraveled from there, and I resigned very shortly. So, the onboarding period should be simple and easy, but it can go wrong. And it's the line manager's job to make sure it doesn't. So anyway, those are the examples of what happens when things go wrong in the onboarding period. So this is the conclusion of this video. In this video, I tried to describe how I use the Portal Keyboard Skills documents in the onboarding period. I talked about my 5-step management process. I talked about how to apply that process to the onboarding period. I created a demo using a fictitious company to show how I would use the onboarding or the portal keyboard skills document in the company share drive. I talked a little bit about the subjective part of onboarding. That is to say, for the company managers to try to create a positive impression about the company. Then I again talked about using the share drive in the company website to save the portal keyboard skills documents and have them accessible not only to the new people, but to the experienced people as well. I also talked about the humanitarian side of leadership and management. That is to say, beneficence, philanthropy, and altruism. And for me, the importance of taking care of your people. I also talked about how it's important that managers, especially during the onboarding period, are the embodiment of the company, and that the new employees make conclusions of the company based on the performance of the line manager. And then lastly, I briefly described several experiences that were negative experiences during my 20-year career in clinical operations.